envelope in the fridge. I only found it because I was out of eggs. I'd pulled the carton forward to check how many were left, and it slid farther than it should have, knocking into the back wall of the fridge. Something white and rectangular was wedged between the carton and the metal shelf lip. At first, I thought it was a stray piece of packaging, but when I pulled it free, I realized it was an envelope. Plain, slightly crumpled. My full name, written across the front in blue ink. Not printed. Not typed. Handwritten. I live alone. The paper felt cold, the way paper shouldn't unless it had been in there a long time. My first thought was that it was some kind of joke from a friend, but I couldn't imagine anyone sneaking into my apartment just to stash an envelope under the eggs. I stood there in front of the open fridge for a good 30 seconds, before sliding a finger under the flap and tearing it open. Inside was a single sheet of paper, folded once. The first line made me laugh, but not for long. "You're in the middle of doing your life over." I read it again, slower this time, expecting the words to rearrange themselves into something else. They didn't. The date at the top was from 4 years ago. I felt my throat tighten. 4 years ago, I'd been living in a different apartment, working a different job, dating someone I thought I'd marry. None of that had ended well. The rest of the page was stranger. On the back, in smaller handwriting, was a note. "Don't make the same mistakes this time." Beneath that was a bulleted list. Some of them were things I recognized immediately. Don't take the call on June 14th. Don't let him borrow the car. Check the brakes before the trip. Every single one of those had happened. The call had led to the breakup. Lending the car had cost me months of insurance headaches. The brakes, well, that one could have killed me if I hadn't swerved in time. Then, there were items I didn't recognize. Yet. Don't go near the bridge after midnight. Say no to the invitation in October. Don't answer when she knocks. I set the letter down on the counter, my fingers trembling. This was either the cruelest prank I'd ever been the target of, or something I didn't have a framework for. That night I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I thought about the date on the letter, about the handwriting that looked eerily like mine. The next morning, I compared the loops and slants to my old notebooks. It matched. Not perfectly, but close enough that I couldn't tell where the differences began. By the third day, I'd convinced myself it was some kind of elaborate experiment. Maybe I'd written it during a breakdown and hidden it without remembering. Maybe it had been waiting for me since before I even moved into this apartment. Then, one of the future items happened. It was a Thursday night in early May. My phone lit up with an unfamiliar number. I almost ignored it, but something in me made me swipe to answer. The call lasted 3 minutes. It was an old coworker asking me to help on a freelance project. Nothing sinister. I said yes. 2 weeks later, the project imploded, taking my main client down with it. I lost half my income in a weekend. I went back to the list. The next unhappened item was about the bridge. I stopped taking that route home, even though it added 20 minutes to my commute. I didn't know what I was avoiding, only that I didn't want to find out. The envelope's still in my freezer now, sealed inside a plastic bag. I don't know why I moved it there. Maybe I thought I was pausing it, like a file in cold storage. But lately, I've noticed things slipping. Déjà vu in conversations. A sense of watching myself from a few inches behind my own eyes. And last night, when I opened the fridge for a drink, there was another envelope. Same handwriting. Same weight. This one just says, "You're almost out of chances." The rehearsal. It was my second week at the company, and we were herded into a conference room for what was supposed to be a team-building safety drill. The HR coordinator, a cheerful woman in a bright cardigan, explained that it was an emergency evacuation exercise. Nothing to worry about, just standard procedure. I'd done a few fire drills in previous jobs, so I wasn't expecting anything unusual. We were given name tags, a laminated map of the building, and assigned evacuation roles. My job was to guide people from my floor to the assembly point outside. Easy enough. We started the drill at exactly 10 a.m. A loud alarm echoed through the building, and we moved quickly but calmly toward the emergency exits. The HR coordinator walked alongside us, clipboard in hand, making check marks beside each name. That's when one of the new hires, Evan, I think, froze in the hallway. His face went pale. He clutched the strap of his bag and muttered something I couldn't catch at first. "Not again," he said. I thought maybe he had anxiety about drills or crowds. I was about to reassure him when he whispered, "We've done this before." Exactly like this. Before I could respond, he added, "You stood there." She dropped her pen right there. "And in about 30 seconds, the lights will flicker." The lights flickered. It wasn't like a coincidence flicker either. It was exactly as he described, a quick double blink before coming back steady. Evan's breathing got heavier. We got outside and gathered at the assembly point. Evan hung back, rummaging through his bag like he was looking for something. When the drill ended, people laughed, chatted, and went back inside. I stayed behind a moment because Evan had pulled out a small stack of flash drives and DVDs. "They're all recordings," he said when he noticed me watching. "From the same day." "This day," I laughed nervously. "What do you mean? Like, old drills?" He shook his head. "Not old. Repeats. The same drill. Same date. Different outcomes." He handed me one of the DVDs. Written in black marker across the disc was today's date. I pointed that out, and he said, "Yeah, that's from last time. You died in that one." I felt my stomach twist. "You're messing with me." "Am I?" He opened his laptop right there on the sidewalk and slid in the disc. Grainy footage appeared on the screen, security camera style, but with weirdly sharp detail. It showed the same hallway we'd walked through just minutes ago. There was the HR coordinator in her cardigan. There was me, looking around as if waiting for something. Then, screams. People running. The image jittered, and I saw myself on the floor, pinned under a fallen ceiling beam. I stepped back. "Okay, this is some elaborate prank." He closed the laptop. "It's not a prank. This is the 4th time I've been through this. Every time, someone different dies. The first time, it was me. I thought it was a nightmare until it happened again. And again. Today's your turn." I didn't want to hear any more, but his voice had that tone, the kind you can't just brush off. He was shaking. We went back inside, and I tried to bury myself in work. But my eyes kept darting to the clock. Around 3:15 p.m., the fire alarm went off again. People groaned, thinking it was a second drill. But the smell of smoke hit almost instantly. We moved toward the exits, just like in the morning, but this time there was shouting. Someone said the electrical room was on fire. As we reached the hallway from the footage, I saw the HR coordinator drop her pen. The lights flickered twice. Evan grabbed my arm. "Stop! Don't go forward!" But people behind me were pushing. I was swept into the hallway just as a loud crack split the air. A ceiling panel gave way ahead. Instinct took over. I dove backward, slamming into Evan, and the beam crashed exactly where I would have been standing. We made it outside. I couldn't stop shaking. Evan looked at me, wide-eyed. "This is the first time I've changed it," he said. Before I could respond, he pulled out his phone and showed me something. A new video file on his device, time-stamped for today. He tapped it. The footage played from a strange angle, like a ceiling camera I'd never seen before. It showed us in the hallway, me stepping back just in time, But there was something else. Someone standing in the shadows at the far end. They weren't in the hallway when we were there. And they were smiling. The other roommate. When I first moved into the apartment, it was supposed to be simple. 2 bedrooms, 2 tenants, split rent right down the middle. My roommate Josh was someone I'd known casually from college. Easygoing enough that we figured we could coexist without drama. The place wasn't fancy, but it was cheap for the area, and the lease seemed straightforward. For the first 2 months, everything was normal. We had our routines. Josh worked evenings at a restaurant. I worked from home during the day. We'd occasionally overlap in the kitchen, swap leftovers, complain about the leaky faucet. Nothing weird. Then the rent notice came. It was an email from the management company with the subject line, "Updated rent statement." When I opened it, the breakdown showed the total rent, divided 3 ways. At first, I thought it was a clerical error, but the math was exact. Our portion reduced slightly, a new tenant C line added. I forwarded it to Josh with a question mark, and within minutes, he was at my door. "What the hell is this?" he asked. "No idea. Maybe they sent it to the wrong unit?" We decided to call the management office together. After a few minutes on hold, a chipper voice answered. I explained the mistake, but she cut me off halfway. "Oh, that's correct," she said. "Your unit is leased as a 3-bedroom, 3 occupants." Josh frowned. "It's a 2-bedroom. We've been living here for months." There was a pause on the line. Then, "No, it's listed as a 3-bedroom unit. Room A, Room B, and Room C, all occupied." We both laughed, awkwardly. "There is no Room C," I said. "Of course there is," she replied. "It's the small one between the laundry closet and the bathroom." I exchanged a glance with Josh. That door was always locked. We'd assumed it was a utility closet or maybe maintenance storage. After hanging up, we went straight to check. The door was closed, as always. No lock visible, just one of those cheap brass knobs. I turned it. It opened. The room inside was small, yes, but not a closet. A narrow bed pushed against the wall. A desk with an old lamp. A laundry basket in the corner. On the desk sat an open notebook, pen resting across the page. The handwriting wasn't mine. It wasn't Josh's either. There were clothes in the dresser, a pair of sneakers under the bed, half a cup of water on the nightstand, beads of condensation still sliding down the glass. Maybe the landlord uses this for storage, Josh said, though he didn't sound convinced. That night I couldn't stop thinking about it. If someone was using the room, where were they now? Why had we never heard them? Around midnight, as I was brushing my teeth, I heard the faint hiss of running water. At first, I assumed it was Josh showering. But when I passed his door, it was open, lights off, his snores drifting into the hallway. The sound was coming from the bathroom. Steam curled from beneath the door. I knocked. No answer. I tried the handle. It was locked. I stood there for a long moment, heart thudding. The water shut off. Silence. Then the soft scrape of the shower curtain rings. Footsteps, slow and deliberate, crossed the tile. The lock clicked. The door opened a crack. Steam billowed out. No one was there. The next morning I checked the bathroom. The mirror was still fogged. On the counter sat a toothbrush I'd never seen before. Cheap plastic, green handle, wet bristles. Josh swore he didn't own it. Over the next week, little things started showing up. A damp towel draped over the shower rod that neither of us had used. A plate in the sink with crumbs from a meal neither of us had eaten. A faint smell of shampoo in the hallway at odd hours. One night, I decided to stay up. I sat in the living room with the lights off, pretending to scroll my phone. Around 1:17 a.m., I heard it, the bathroom door opening, footsteps padding down the hall toward that small room. The door to room C clicked shut. I waited until morning before checking. The bed was unmade. The glass of water on the nightstand was gone, replaced with a fresh one. The notebook on the desk had a new entry. They're starting to notice. Josh wanted to move out immediately, but curiosity rooted me in place. I needed to know who or what was living with us. 2 nights later, I hid in the hallway, just out of sight of room C. At 12:53 a.m., the knob turned. The door opened. A figure stepped out, head bowed, hair hanging wet over their face. They moved silently toward the bathroom, leaving a faint trail of water on the floor. I tried to speak, but my throat closed. As they passed under the light, I realized they were wearing my t-shirt, one I'd lost weeks ago. They stopped at the bathroom door and turned their head, just enough for me to see their mouth curve into a slow, deliberate smile. Then they went inside and the water began to run. I haven't opened room C since.